There is a specific moment, and I mean a specific, calculable moment, when putting another dollar into your retirement account actually starts hurting you more than it helps you. Most people never find out when that moment is. They just keep saving, keep grinding, keep maxing the 401k year after year because that's what they were told to do since they were 25 years old. And some of them, pass right through the finish line without even realizing they crossed it. They had enough 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Some of them had enough a decade ago. And they spent that decade sitting in a cubicle, white-knuckling a job they hated, saving money they didn't need, because nobody ever told them the race was already over. And here's what makes this really painful, right? The money they kept saving during those extra years, that money doesn't just sit there. It gets taxed on the way out. It gets hit with required minimum distributions at 73 that spike their income and trigger IRMAA surcharges on Medicare. It creates a tax bomb in their estate that their kids inherit. The extra saving didn't make them more secure. It made them poorer in time and richer in problems they now have to pay an accountant to solve. So today, I'm going to show you the exact formula, not a vague rule of thumb, not some financial advisor's opinion, the actual math that tells you whether you've already crossed the line or how far away you are. I'm going to break down why your annual savings contributions become irrelevant after a certain portfolio size, and your money starts doing more work in a single quarter than you can do in an entire year of saving. And I'm going to show you the 3 signals, 3 specific things you can check right now that tell you whether you're still in the accumulation phase or whether you've been running past the finish line and didn't know it. But stay all the way through, because the last section is about something nobody in the financial industry wants to talk about, the real cost of oversaving. And I don't mean dollars. I mean the trips you didn't take, the years you didn't spend with grandkids, the version of your life you traded for a number on a screen that was already big enough. That part, might change how you think about tomorrow morning. Hit subscribe if you're trying to figure out when enough is actually enough. This channel doesn't deal in generic advice. We deal in the math that matters. All right, let me show you exactly how this works. So here's the thing most people don't understand about the relationship between saving and investing. In the early years, your 20s, 30s, even your early 40s, your contributions are the engine. Your portfolio is small. The market might return 7 or 8% on your balance, but 7% of $100,000 is only $7,000. Meanwhile, you're contributing $20,000 or $25,000 a year between your 401k and maybe a Roth. Your contributions are doing 2 or 3 times more work than the market is. You are the engine. The portfolio is just the vehicle. But something happens as that balance grows, right? And it happens so gradually that most people completely miss it. At some point, and this point is different for everybody, the math flips. Your portfolio starts generating more annual growth than you could possibly contribute, even if you maxed out every account available to you. Let me put real numbers on this because this is where it clicks. Say you're 53. You've been saving aggressively for 25 years. You've got $1.4 million across your retirement accounts and your brokerage. You're still maxing your 401k at $23,500 per year. Maybe your employer matches another $8,000. Maybe you're throwing another $10,000 into a brokerage. So total contributions about $41,500 per year. That's aggressive. That's disciplined. That's more than most people save. Now look at what your portfolio did last year, you see. $1.4 million, growing at, let's say, a modest 7% average return. That's $98,000 in growth in 1 year without you lifting a finger. Your contributions added $41,000. The market added $98,000. The market did more than double what you did. And here's the part that matters. That gap only gets wider from here. Next year, your balance is bigger. The market share of the growth gets even larger. Your contributions become a smaller and smaller percentage of what's actually moving the needle. This is the crossover point. the exact moment when your portfolio's growth exceeds your annual contributions. And once you've crossed it, and I mean genuinely crossed it, not just had one good year in a bull market, the mathematical argument for continuing to sacrifice your current life to save more money, well, it starts falling apart pretty fast. But if you thought the crossover point was the whole story, it's not. There's a second calculation that matters even more, and this is the one that actually tells you whether you can stop. The crossover point tells you when your money is working harder than you are, but that alone doesn't mean you can stop saving. What tells you that, is a different number entirely, and it's not a portfolio balance. It's not a magic number your advisor gave you, it's a ratio. Here's the ratio. Take your annual expenses, everything: housing, healthcare, food, insurance, taxes, travel, the whole thing. For most couples in their 50s and 60s, that number lands somewhere between $70,000 and $120,000, depending on where you live and how you live. Now, take your portfolio balance and multiply it by a safe withdrawal rate. Not 4%, that math is broken, and I've talked about why in other videos. Use 3.2 to 3.5% if you want a realistic margin of safety. That gives you your sustainable annual income from your portfolio. Now add Social Security. If you're planning to claim at 67, look up your estimated benefit on the SSA website. For a household where both spouses worked, combined benefits at 67 often run somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000 per year. Add that to your portfolio income. If that total number, portfolio income plus Social Security, covers your annual expenses with at least a 15 to 20% cushion, you have crossed the line. You're done. The race is over. Every additional dollar you save from this point forward is adding almost nothing to your security and taking almost everything from your time. Let me run this with real numbers, right? Because I want you to be able to do this yourself tonight. You're 57. You've got $1.8 million saved. Your annual expenses are $92,000. You plan to claim Social Security at 67. Estimated combined household benefit of $48,000 per year. You want to retire at 62. That's 5 years of living purely off the portfolio before Social Security kicks in, and then the portfolio plus Social Security after that. At 3.3% withdrawal, your portfolio generates $59,400 per year. During those 5 years before Social Security, you're short about $32,600 per year. That's a total bridge gap of about $163,000. Your $1.8 million can absolutely handle that without breaking a sweat. Then at 67, Social Security adds $48,000. Your combined income becomes $107,400. Your expenses are $92,000. You've got a $15,000 annual cushion, about 16% above your expenses. And your portfolio is still growing because you're not withdrawing everything it produces. That person you see is done. They crossed the finish line. If they work from 57 to 62, those 5 years of additional savings, let's say another $200,000 in contributions, would push their portfolio from 1.8 to maybe 2.2 million. The withdrawal income goes from $59,000 to $72,000. The cushion gets bigger. But here's the question nobody asks. Was that extra cushion worth 5 years of your healthiest, most energetic, most alive years? Because those years don't come back. The money will be there either way. The years won't. And this is where I need to tell you about something the financial industry absolutely does not want you thinking about, because it threatens their entire business model. The industry makes money when you save. That's the whole game, right? Every dollar you contribute goes into an account they manage. They collect fees on that balance. The bigger the balance, the bigger the fee. An advisor charging 1% on $1.8 million is collecting $18,000 a year from you. If you save another $400,000 over the next 5 years and push that to $2.2 million, they're now collecting $22,000 per year. That's 4,000 more per year for doing absolutely nothing different. Same meetings, same rebalancing, same phone calls, just a bigger number on the statement. So when you ask your advisor, can I stop saving? Can I retire? Understand who's answering that question. The person whose income goes up when you keep working and keep saving. I'm not saying they're lying to you. Most advisors genuinely believe more is better. But more is better isn't math, you know? It's a feeling. And when it comes to retirement, feelings get you killed. Math keeps you alive. The math says there is a specific point where additional saving provides diminishing returns, so steep that you are essentially trading years of your life for a number that's already sufficient. And the industry will never hand you that number, because handing you that number means losing your contributions, potentially losing your account, and definitely losing their fee. But if you thought the industry's incentive was the only reason people oversave, it's actually not even the main one. The main reason is something much deeper. And this is the part that I think most people watching this really need to hear. Fear. That's the real reason. The number is never enough because the fear never goes away. You hit 1 million and you think maybe 1.5 is safer. You hit 1.5 and you think 2 would give you real cushion. You hit 2 and you start thinking about long-term care costs, and what if the market crashes 40% the year you retire, and what if inflation runs hot for a decade, and what if you live to 97 and your money runs out at 92? And every single one of those fears is rational, you see? That's what makes this so hard. It's not irrational to worry about healthcare costs. Healthcare for a couple in retirement is running over $300,000 cumulative and climbing. It's not irrational to worry about sequence of returns risk. Retiring into a bad market can wreck a plan that looks perfect on paper. It's not irrational to worry about outliving your money when life expectancy keeps pushing higher. These are real risks, and I would never tell you to ignore them. But here's what is irrational: refusing to acknowledge the point where additional savings stops meaningfully reducing those risks and starts only reducing the quality of your life right now. Going from 1.5 million to 2 million reduces your probability of running out of money by maybe 3 to 4 percentage points. Going from 2 million to 2.5 reduces it by another 1 to 2 points. The curve flattens, right? Each additional dollar buys you less and less security. But each additional year of work costs you the same thing: 365 days you will never get back. I know a man who saved until he had $3.2 million. His wife kept telling him to retire. "Come on," she'd say. "We have enough. Let's go live." He kept saying, "1 more year." He wanted 3.5. Felt like that was the real number, the safe number. The number where he could finally stop worrying. He hit 3.5 at 64, threw a small party, told his wife they'd start planning that trip to Greece the next month. His wife was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 6 months later. She was gone within a year. He retired at 65 into an empty house with $3.5 million and nobody to share it with. He traded every single penny of that last $300,000, every cent he saved between $62 and $64, to have those 2 years back with her, you know. But years don't work like dollars. You can't earn them back. You can't compound them. Once they're spent, they're spent. It's an extreme case. I know it is. But I've seen softer versions of it 100 times. The trip to Italy that kept getting pushed back. The grandkids who grew up while someone was still grinding out 1 more year. The hobbies that never got started. The health that quietly declined while someone was waiting for a number that was already big enough 3 years ago. The financial industry has a word for people who die with too much money. They call it estate value. I call it proof that someone traded years they could have lived for dollars they never needed. You don't have to make that trade. Run the 3 signals tonight. Check the crossover point. Check the withdrawal math. And be honest. brutally honest about whether one more year is math talking or fear talking. Because the answer to that question, well, it might be the most important financial decision you ever make. And it has nothing to do with money. Now, let me show you what this looks like practically, right? Because I don't want to just tell you to stop saving. I want to show you what changes when you do. You're 58, you've got 1.6 million. You're still saving 40,000 a year. Your expenses are 85,000. Social Security at 67 will be about 44,000 combined for you and your spouse. At 3.3% withdrawal, your portfolio generates 52,800. Plus Social Security, that's 96,800. Your expenses are 85,000. You've got a 14% cushion. The math works. Now, instead of saving that 40,000 this year, what if you spend it? I mean, really think about this, right? What if you took the trip to Portugal you've been bookmarking for 3 years? Renovated the kitchen you've been talking about since the kids moved out? Set up a 529 for the grandkids so they don't start life buried in student loans? Gave your kids 20,000 of the inheritance while you're alive to see them buy their first house with it instead of leaving it in a will they read after you're gone? That 40,000 doesn't change your retirement outcome in any meaningful way. Your portfolio, at 1.6 million, is already generating enough. But that 40,000 absolutely changes your 58th year on this planet. It changes the look on your daughter's face when you hand her that check. It changes the memory your grandkids have of the summer you all spent together. Or, and this is the play most people don't think about, you know, what if you stopped saving and dropped to part-time? Instead of grinding 50 hours a week to mass every account, you work 25 hours doing something you actually enjoy. Your income drops, but you don't need the income for saving anymore. You're buying back half your week. 52 weeks of half your time back. That's 6 months of life returned to you in a single year. And your retirement plan doesn't even flinch, because the savings weren't moving the needle anyway. Here's the truth that nobody in this industry will say out loud. Enough is a real number, you know? It's not a feeling. It's not a vibe. It's a calculation. It's a calculation you can run tonight on a napkin. Annual expenses divided by your withdrawal rate. That gives you the portfolio number. Subtract Social Security income from your expenses first to get the net amount the portfolio actually needs to cover. Add 15 to 20% for cushion. That's your number. And once you've hit it, or once you're within 2 to 3 years of hitting it, the conversation has to change. It's no longer about how much more can I save. It's about how much life am I willing to trade for money I already have enough of. The man I mentioned earlier with 3.5 million and the empty house, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, the hardest part wasn't losing his life. The hardest part was knowing he chose a spreadsheet over 2 more years with her. And the spreadsheet, you see, was already big enough at 3.2. Those last $300,000 cost him everything that actually mattered. You don't have to make that trade. Run the 3 signals tonight, check the crossover point, check the withdrawal math, and be honest, brutally honest, about whether one more year is math talking or fear talking. Because the answer to that question, well, it might be the most important financial decision you ever make, and it has nothing to do with money. Drop a comment. Have you run your number? Do you know where you stand? Or are you still saving because that's just what you've always done? I want to hear where you are. Hit subscribe. Share this with someone who might already be past the finish line and doesn't know it. And I'll see you in the next one.